Hello, I'm Barry McCormick. Welcome to the BastilleBSD video series. Today I'm going to talk about boot options and priorities. There's a way in Bastille now to set whether a jail is started upon boot time, and then the priorities sets the order in which jails boot. So let's jump right in. As usual, I have up the BastilleBSD website. There's a link to the documentation. Our documentation online is the latest. Anytime we make an edit to the docs, it's automatically built and pushed to online. The current version of Bastille is 0.14, has been released. And you'll notice through this tag here, I am on the latest documentation. Okay, I come down here, startup configuration. The boot setting controls whether a jail will be started on system startup. In other words, if you boot the system, do you want the jail to be automatically started? When you create a jail with Bastille, the boot setting is set to on by default. So if you don't put anything in a jail when you create it, if you don't put a switch to say no boot target, it will be set to on and boot. Let's move this out of the way and let's look at, I have some jails here. You notice when you do the Bastille list all command, it has this column right here says boot. All of these jails are set to on. So when I create them, they're all by default turned to on. Now, if I want, let's just say I don't want Folsom to boot when I boot the system. We use the Bastille config. As always, you hit enter with Bastille and command, it gives you the help. So, the format is Bastille config, the target, either get, set, or remove, the property, and a value. So I want to do Bastille config Folsom. I want to set boot to off. Notice it says here it changed boot from on to off. If I do a Bastille list all again, notice right here Folsom is set to off. So now if I reboot the system, this is a VM running on Beehive. It reboots fairly quickly. Now watch when, during the boot up, okay, you notice it started up Alcatraz, it started up Bastille, it started up Capistrano, it started up Sing Sing. You don't see it mention anything about Folsom there. Let's log in and confirm. Folsom is still down. If I change just change it to on. Reboot again to show that it does start up Folsom on boot. You notice this time Alcatraz, Bastille, Capistrano, then it did boot Folsom. And they're all up. Now, where does this change this file? If we go into user local, I'll go into Folsom. That's the one we were changing. You notice now, besides the jail.conf, standard jail.conf file, there is a boot.conf file. It has two parameters in it. Priority that we'll talk about here in a minute, and the boot equals on. If I went in and edited with an editor and edited that file and put boot equal off, it would be the same thing as running the command. I think the command is a lot easier, cleaner, and a lot safer than editing the file. But that is where that parameter is put. And that's all there is to the boot parameter. Setting where it boots, whether the jail starts at boot time or doesn't. Okay, let's talk about the boot priority. Okay, a priority value very simply sets the order at which jails start and stop. Okay, or if multiple jails are targeted, the order. The value for start goes from 1 to 99. By default, all jails are set to 99. So, if you just create a jail, you don't put anything about priority, it's set to 99. If you build a jail with a priority, put -P in the property value on creation, and you can set it. When jails start, they start with the lowest priority. So if you had jail 50, 60, 70, and 80, it would start on startup. It would start with 50, then with 60, then with 70, then with 80, and then with any of the 99s. So by default, they're set to start last. Now, we've already seen these starting. If you go back, notice it started them in alphabetical order. Now let's go in here and back to the config, Bastille, config, the target. We've been messing with Folsom. Let's keep messing with Folsom. Folsom, set priority. Notice it changed the priority from 99 to 90. I do Bastille list all to prove that it is set to 90. Now then, if I cat this boot.conf file, notice it says priority equals 90 in it, not 99. Now if I reboot the system, instead of booting the jails in alphabetical order, it should boot Folsom first, then the others in alphabetical order. There it booted Folsom first. Now it's booting Alcatraz, Bastille, Capistrano, and Sing Sing. So it did boot them in the order that I told it. They're all back up. if I shut down the gels, oh, shut down. Notice that it went in reverse order. It shut down Folsom last. It has the highest priority. So it not only affects the startup, it also affects the shutdown. So in the video today, we looked at the boot setting to set whether a gel is booted upon, or a gel is started upon boot time. Then we looked at the priority where you can set the order of when gels boot. Hopefully today's video has been informative, and as always, happy computing.